Today I've come to Plumstead Cemetery on the east side of London. If you're not sure where Plumstead is, think Woolwich and a little bit further east. If you hear a lot of background noise, we're under a flight path, a lot of aeroplanes. There's also quite a lot of building work being done on the entrance buildings. This depicts an angel carrying a young child. And on the inscription we read, Gladys, the dearly loved and only child of Richard and Charlotte Baker, and she was 4.5 years old. And then also of Charlotte, who looks to have been just a few months old, and then Kathleen, who again was only a few months old. So this is in memory of the 3 children who died in infancy. This memorial commemorates John Travers, Colonel RA, Royal Artillery, for 40 years a Sunday school superintendent. And there his wife and co-worker is mentioned beneath. On the left hand side, as we walk up the main path, is the memorial to Damilola Taylor, who died aged 11 tragically. His story touched all of our hearts. It hit the headlines when he was stabbed to death and bled to death, just aged 11. And down here we have his mother, Gloria Taylor, who passed away aged 57 years. This one has a statue of an angel looking skywards, clasped hands. And at the base we see it's Charles and Amy Jacobs, Doris their child. She fell asleep 1900, aged 1 year and 5 months. So this is to Doris. This one on the corner has some barriers around it. It may be because the statue, which is rather tall, is unsafe. It is erected to the memory of the men who lost their lives in the gun cotton and lyddite explosions at the Royal Arsenal, Woolwich. On this side it tells us that it happened 18th of June 1903, and it names the 16 men who died. And on the opposite side there are 3 more names from 3 people that died in the gun cotton explosion in 1903. One of the larger memorials, certainly one of the heaviest, is the Henderson Memorial, but because of its weight it's now starting to tilt at an angle which I suspect will mean it won't be upright for much longer. So there we are, deaths and various Hendersons, John Frederick Henderson, I notice, and other names on there. One of the issues in this graveyard is that many of the inscriptions are very dirty. I suspect that's pollution. We're on the edge of a city, makes them difficult to read. This one's not too bad. Susanna Holden, 1930, aged 81, and Hyla Joseph Holden of Walsall in Staffordshire, 1895. But if we pan left, that's going to be quite hard to work out, although I see the surname is Butler. This one is in memory of LAC Dudley O'Blaney, Royal Air Force. He was accidentally killed at Tutbury in Staffordshire in 1947, aged 27. This is quite an unusual shaped stone. It's almost like petals on a flower. This is Father Esther Dancy, 1923 to 2018. Just nice to see a distinctive looking memorial. No doubt there's a story behind this one. Peter Louis Tucker, the mission boy from Shebar, 1927 to 2017. A respected statesman and loyal son of Sierra Leone. Peter Louis Tucker. Douglas Young, 1935 to 2020, has got his allegiance, his colours, pinned to the fence behind. Fulham football supporter. You can see the extent of this graveyard. It looks as though quite a number of stones have been removed over the years. A simple and very distinctive design for Cristiana Poletti Angelini, artist, 1937 to 2010. A war grave stands out distinctively amongst the others. This is from the Second World War. W.S. Shipman, able seaman, Royal Navy, and his number, HMS Glengyle, 1944, aged 26. Peacefully sleeping, duty done. One or two of them have a portrait of the person concerned. This is Terry Roberts, and he was aged 27. I see at the top of the slope 3 enormous memorials, really over the top by normal standards, but you have to grieve the way you want to grieve. We'll go and get a close-up view of these very large stones. The first one has Donnie Driscoll, and it commemorates Anthony Daniel O'Driscoll and Bridget O'Driscoll, known as Biddy. And at the top there we have an image of the couple commemorated. Next door is Golden Boy, 4 years old, Francie Michael Doherty, and there is an image there of Golden Boy. Next to that is Yvonne Coyle, and it shows her dressed up for the party, and she died very recently, 2021. And the fourth of these rather large memorials, this one is to Biddy Coyle, Bridget Margaret Coyle, and again we have an image of her dressed up for going out. And directly behind those four is one a little bit smaller but still a good size, Doherty. There's 2 names on there, and there's a picture of a car here. As I've moved up through the newer graves, a whole group of them here, and on the side are Chinese characters. So these are the graves from the local Chinese community. And this one, just taken at random, I won't try and pronounce the name. At the bottom, 1962 to 2007. And we have an image of the lady concerned. And further up there are even more with the Chinese inscriptions. Clearly a sizable Chinese or Vietnamese or community in this area. Well, this is the top of the hill that the graveyard is on. You can see a lot of the older stones. 1 or 2 war memorials standing out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 I can see. But the older stones are quite difficult to read. I think it's the pollution probably in the air, or just the bad sort of stone. So I'm having trouble giving you some interesting older stones. Just a very simple marker for this burial, no dates. Walter Thomas Fountain, rest in peace. This one to Sidney Herbert Day, and his wife Alice Rebecca Day, has a crest on the top. I would suspect it's a regimental crest. It has it looks like a cannon on it. There is a group here of 24 stones, each with around 4 names on each, and they commemorate the citizens of the borough who were killed during the Second World War and are buried in this graveyard. Pick one stone at random, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 names on this, and most of them died on the 10th of October 1940, presumably a bombing. And there's one at the top from 19th of September and one from the 18th of September. Another 5 names on here. September 1940 for the first 2, January 41 for the next 2, and March 41 for the Mary Fuke at the bottom. A couple of war graves. R.A. Allen, gunner, Royal Garrison Artillery, May 1918. No age given. Officer Cadet J.T. Johns, Royal Signals, 1942, age 23. And added at the bottom by the family, but with the charity of youth, the greatest gift of all his life he gave. And this is to Private H.R. Lane, Royal West Kent Regiment, 1919, age 39. Rest in peace. Grief dwells in France and England for many a noble son. Now the marks you see on these stones, it seems to be the type of stone they use. It's not the pure white Portland stone that we're used to. This is a sort of marble effect with this black flecking through it. Just makes the inscription sometimes not quite so clear to read. Well, I've worked my way around the hill, and there's another area of the graveyard I haven't seen yet. This is obviously mostly new graves, and there's quite a lot of strimming going on to keep the grass down, so you'll hear that in the background. I've come to this area here where there's several rows of very small stones. They all seem to date from around the 1930s. Many are children, but not all of them. I guess it's for those that couldn't afford a big stone, a big memorial. Well, in fact, this one where I've cleared some of the grass away, this is Amy Skidmore, who died in 1913. And this man, almost lost in the grass, is Darling Leslie Harold Gotts, 1936. And this one I can just make out the name Walter Floyd, and he was aged 29 days, but some work will be needed to get the date off that. And just behind these rows of very small stones are a lot of the war memorials. You can see probably 10, 15, 20, and as I pan round. Hard to get across here, the grass is quite deep, and there's lots of holes you can trip over, and it's very wet today. This is beside the path, and I had to show it to you. The picture is of such a pretty little 10-year-old girl who died, Shelley Emma Shepherd Groves. I'll just show you the picture, just a sort of typical happy 10-year-old young lady. What a beautiful picture. This has the young looking angel with her wings fully open, and this is Darling Reggie, Reginald Guy Alfred Draper, 1915, in his 7th year. And then his father and mother are listed below. So 6-year-old Reggie. Well, I'm going to leave Plumstead Cemetery at this point. It's not been easy to read a lot of the older stones, but the cemetery itself is a very peaceful place if you don't mind the normal city background noises of traffic and aeroplanes. Very pleasant place to come to. For me, the one that was special was the one I found, I didn't know it was here, was Damilola Taylor, the poor little 11-year-old boy that was in the wrong place at the wrong time and died. Anyway, that's it from Plumstead. Till the next time.